Hey there, fourth grade. This is Mr. Campbell. Today we're going to be on page 85. This is lesson 3.2 Estimate Products. At the end of today, we want you to be able to say, I can use rounding to estimate products and check if my answer is reasonable. All right, now, today's lesson is going to be a little bit different than the normal routine that we do. The reason for that is because estimating is something that's not supposed to be super scary. It's just supposed to be a tool for us to use to check our work, make sure that things make sense. It's actually supposed to be easier because it doesn't need to be exact, which is kind of nice. So today, what I really need for you to do is I really need you to focus in with me. I need you to stay on task step by step because we're actually going to solve most of the problems together today. And so I want you to make sure that you get the most out of the time that we've got. So that's what we're going to be working on. What I need for you to do right now is get to page 85, grab your pencil, make sure you've got your headphones on because we're going to get started right here. It says Sarah earns $48 a week babysitting. She saves all of her earnings for 6 weeks. Estimate to determine how much money Sarah saves. All right. So, first things first, can you underline a couple of things? $48 a week. I see a number, so I'm going to underline that. 6 weeks. And you notice I don't just underline the number, I'm also including the label. And then would you circle estimate? Ooh, sorry, kind of cut off my estimate there. Estimate. All right. I do not want to actually solve this problem. I want to get a close idea of how much Sarah has earned. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to take our $48 that she made every week. And how many weeks did she work? 6 weeks. So our math problem here is 46 times 6 because every week she made 48 and she worked for 6. All right. Now, when we get to our estimating, we're going to use rounding to help us to do that. But the reality is, I just want to get a close idea. I don't want to make this extra hard. So which of these two numbers am I going to change here? Well, I'm going to change the 48 because it's got multiple digits. I don't want to have to keep multiplying all of that. I feel lazy today. So what am I going to do? I'm going to underline the number that is the largest one, and I'm going to circle the number that's right behind it. All right. And if you remember, the number that we circle is the bossy number for the number that's underlined. Now, I went and drew in a number line at the bottom of my paper. You don't have to draw this in for me, but this is kind of one of the things that will help us out. All right. So as we're working today, I'm going to go ahead and use this number line to help me. All right. So the number that I circled up here was the number 8, right? So when I come to my number line, I'm going to look on here and go, hey, where's my number 8? Oh, it's right there, right? Now, is the number 8 closer for me to round up to the next number, or is it closer for me to stay at the number? What's it going to tell my underlying number to do? Well, I'm closer to round up, right? It's a shorter distance for me to get over to here than it would for me to go all the way down there. So when I come back over here, I go, okay, so it tells me to round up. So the 4 is going to go up one number to 5. And then anything that I've circled and behind it is going to turn into a 0. And that's just one number for now. So it rounds to 50. This is the part of our I can statement where it said use rounding to estimate. I rounded 48 to 50, and I'm going to keep my 6. Now, if you remember yesterday's lesson, it was all about multiples of 10. And the reason that was so important is when we use estimating, I'm going to have lots of these zeros. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply anything that isn't my 0. So 5 times 6. What is 5 times 6? 5 times 6 equals 30. All right, so 50 times 6, I have my 30, but then I need to make sure that that extra 0 sticks on the back. So I had 30, I had an extra 0. So about how much money did she make? Well, she made about $300. All right, that's about how much she made. Okay. Now, when we go through our rounding and estimating today, we're also going to be checking other people's work and saying, hey, is theirs make sense, or do we need to go back and double check? So let's go ahead and turn to the next page and check out what that's going to look like. So we're actually going to skip page 86 and come right over to page 87. And the reason for that today is I want us just to actually practice some of these things. All right. Because it can get a little bit confusing the more and more we go. And I want you to see the real life problems and applications of this instead of kind of complicating things a little bit more. So if you're not on page 87, please get there with me right now. We're going to start off working on these 4 problems right here. Okay. So for number 2, we have 6 times 125. 6 times 125. So here's the question that I have for you. If we want to round and estimate the 125, right? If I want to do that, do I want a bunch of extra numbers? The answer is no. I want to keep the largest place value, which means I circle the number behind it. In this case, it's my number 2. Well, I'm going to go ahead and grab my trusty number line here. All right. So if I were to take, I've got this cute little rubber ducky here. He's not actually rubber, he's hard plastic, but he's going to be floating on our number line for today. So the number that we circled is the number he's going to go sit on. So he sits right over here. And we are going to ask the question, is it going to stay the same or round up? All right. So those are our 2 choices, either side, whichever one he's closer to. And so my little ducky is floating here. And the question is it closer to go to the stay line or is it closer to go to the up line? And hopefully, even as you see me doing this, you can go, yeah, Mr. Campbell, I can see we're a lot closer to stay the same. So what does that mean? Well, that means when I come back over here, my underlined number will stay the same. So 1. Anything that's circled and the smaller place values will turn to 0. So 0, 0. Now I can estimate this. 6 times 1 is 6, and I need 2 zeros at the end. It's 600. Wasn't that pretty easy? I hope you're sitting there going, "Oh, yeah, that is pretty easy. I can understand that. I can get this." Okay, sure. Let's check out number 3. All right. Number 3, we've got more place values here. We've got 4 times 2,610. But it doesn't need to be scary. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. What we can do is the same steps. I want to keep one place value over here. So I'm going to underline my 2. Okay. If I underline the 2, that means I need to circle the number 6. That's right behind it. All right, little buddy. My little ducky, are you ready to go? Quack, quack, let's do it. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to come on over. The number that's circled is where he goes on the number line. So he's going to find the number 6, and my little ducky is going to sit on the number 6. All right, he is sitting here bobbing along. Is it going to be easier for him to go up to the next number or to go down and stay the same? So is this 2 going to go up to a 3 or stay at a 2? Which way is he going to go? Which way is he going to float? Well, I can already see it's a lot closer for him to float to our up, right? Yeah, he's going to float up because it's not as far to get there. So if I had a 2 and I want to go up one number, that's going to go up to a 3. Now, anything that's circled and the numbers behind it turn to 0. So my 6 turns to a 0, my 1 turns to a 0, and I already had a 0 at the end. Now I can say, all right, well, what's 4 times 3,000? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. And then how many zeros do I need? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So my estimate is about 12,000. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and check out number 4. And when we do number 4, I'm going to go ahead and slide this up just a little bit for us to get a little more room. All right. Number 4. Now, when we do this one, I'm going to get you started on it, but I'm going to ask you to actually follow the steps to solve this problem. Okay, so we've got 538 times 3. That's a lot of extra digits here, right? So what am I going to underline? Go ahead and pause your video, underline and circle what you think first. I hope you pause the video and underline and circle it. I want to keep the largest place value, which means that I circle the number right behind it. The 5 is what will change or stay the same. The 3 is going to be bossy. All right. So where would I put my little ducky friend? All right. Where's he going to go on my number line here to determine if he's going to stay the same or tell it to go up? Well, what did I circle? It's a 3. So he's going to come over and sit right here on my number 3. All right. Now we ask the question, and I want you to answer this. Is it going to be easier for him to tell the number to stay the same, or is it going to be easier for him to tell the number to go up? What do you think? Would you please write down your number? So this number right here, the 5, is either going to stay a 5 or it's going to go up to a 6, depending on where my ducky is at on the number line. What do you think it's going to be? Write it down, because I'm going to show you the answer in just a second, but I want you to try it first. Well, on my 3, I can see that it is a shorter distance for him to stay. So that means this becomes a 5. The 3 turns to a 0, and my 8 turns to a 0. Now I have 500 times 3. That's a much easier problem than 538. 5 times 3 is 15. And then I have these 2 extra zeros. So my answer is 1,500. All right. Now, we're going to try out number 5. I'm going to ask you to do all of number 5 on your own. All right. I'm going to leave the little ducky here. You can try to imagine where he would go on my number line for this one, and then I'll show you. So pause your video and do number 5 right now on your own. All right. 314 times 7. What are we going to estimate? How are we going to round this into an estimate? Pause the video and solve. If you didn't pause the video to solve, please do that right now, because I'm going to walk through these. But again, if you don't actually try when I tell you to pause it and try it, it's going to be a lot harder for you later when you have to show these things on your own, which is why I'm always encouraging you to pause, try it on your own. I'm going to underline my largest place value, which is that 3 in the hundreds place. I'm going to circle the number behind it. My 3 is either going to go up or stay the same. My 1 is going to be bossy. So when I put it on here, it is very close already. I can see to stay the same. So my 3 will stay the same. And then my other 2 numbers turn to zeros. And then I'm going to times all of that by 7. 3 times 7 is 21. And then I need 2 extra zeros. My answer is 2,100. Okay, that's how we can solve these different problems. Okay, the estimate helps us to be able to figure out a close number to the actual problem. Let's actually jump down into our independent practice next, and we'll try out a couple more problems. All right, so let's check out number 6. All right, so for number 6, it says we've got 3 times 287. Now, there's a lot of extra things here, but they're just trying to organize it for you so that way it's kind of like what we were writing up top. We're just going to change it a little bit. So here I've got 287. I'm going to underline my 2 and circle my 8, right? Because I want to keep the largest place value, and I want that one to be the bossy. So my bossy number is 8. So when I put my ducky on my number line here, what is it that he wants to tell us to do? Well, he wants to tell us to go up, right? Yeah, he's going to go up. So the 2 that was underlined here is going to round up to a 3. And then I've got zeros in each of those 2 spots. So my 287 becomes 300. So what are we rounding 287 to? 300. Don't ask me why we have to write it twice. I don't really know. I'm sure there's some very good reason, but that's just what they want us to do. They want us to show that we recognize our 287 rounded to 300. Now I can say 3 times 3 is 9. And I've got 2 zeros afterwards, so I got to put my 2 zeros on there. Boom, 900. All right, that's how we solve that type of a problem. All right. Now, I want you to actually go down next. We're going to check out number 9. Now, number 9 is very similar, but there's a big shift. And here's the shift. They have written out for us what they solved the answer to be. We want to find out an estimate, and the reason is it reasonable, which is that last part right down here. They want us to use our brains to figure out, does the thing that they wrote down make sense, or is it crazy talk? All right, so we're going to do 2 of these together real fast. Number 9 is going to be our first one, and number 9, I've got 7 times 486. I want to focus on the estimate first. So don't worry about this answer over here. We're going to focus here. I want to keep my largest place value, and I circle the number behind it. And this is an 8 that's going to be bossy to the 4. When my ducky comes over, he's going to go to where it's circled, and that's my number 8, right? My little ducky's on number 8. Is he closer to going up or closer to staying the same? He's very close to go up. So he's going to tell the 4 to round up to the next number. So my 4 becomes a 5. The 8 turns into a 0, and the 6 turns into a 0. So what did we round 486 to? 500. Again, I don't know why we have to write it up there if we just wrote it here, but hey, it's good practice. Next, I'm going to say I've got 7 times 5. What's 7 times 5? Well, 7 times 5 is 35, but I can't forget about these extra 2 zeros I've got. So my 35, I add those 2 zeros, and boom, 3,500. The last step that I have to do is I have to compare my estimate and my answer. And I need to ask, are they pretty close to each other? Now, the real answer is I'm kind of looking for these first 2 numbers in particular. All right. The other numbers matter, but I'm really kind of just judging it based on these. Are they pretty close to each other, or are they really far? Well, I've got 34. I've got 35. Are those pretty close to each other? They absolutely are. They're very close. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is a pretty reasonable answer. All right? That makes sense. 3,500 is pretty close to 3,400 too. Okay? Well, let's check out number 15. Number 15, we've got 5 times 1,240 is 9,200. We're not going to worry about that yet. Let's just do our estimate. Just like always, I'm going to underline the largest place value and circle the number behind it. My bossy number here is going to be my number 2. So here we go, Mr. Ducky. Let's head on over to number 2. All right. He's on number 2. And the question is he going to tell the 1 to stay the same, or is he going to tell the ducky, the number 1 to round up? And as you look at these 2, I hope that you're seeing, hey, he is much closer to 1 than the other. Which one is he closer to? He's closer to stay the same. So the 2 is going to be bossy to the 1 and tell it to stay the same as a 1. All the other numbers in my estimate turn to zeros. So what did I round 1,240 to? I rounded it to 1,000. Okay. 5 times 1, or 1 times 5 is 5. And then I need 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3 zeros. So my estimate is, it should be somewhere around 5, right? Like that's about where it should be. Well, when I take a look here, I'm going to ask the question, is their answer reasonable or not reasonable? So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to look at these 2 numbers. I've got 9,200 and I've got 5,000. And again, I'm really going to be looking at these first 2 numbers. So I've got 92 and I've got 50. Is that right? 92 and 50? Well, those aren't close at all. My math was right down here. So you know what that means? That means they probably made a mistake when they were working up here, which means This is not reasonable. Okay? Again, these are the steps that we go through to solve these different problems. All right? Well, I'm going to have you work the rest of your time. You're going to be working on number 7, number 8, and number 11. Those 3 will be the ones that you're going to want to focus on. You are welcome to make your own number line, just like the one I've got here with my ducky. I'm sorry I don't have a ducky for you, but hey, you can always just use your pen. And you can go onto here and you can say, is it closer for me to stay or is it closer for me to go up? The important thing is the number 10 is not on here, right? Number 0 is over here. 5 is actually closer to our up. It rounds up when we get to a 5, which is why on my number line here, 5 is actually off center. The very middle of my number line is actually right here, right? And so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will tell it to go up. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, tell it to stay the same. All right, 4th grade, thanks so much for working hard with me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next time.